this thing. Everything you do is so demanding.
I mean, your dad was nearly one of the first I met when I came up here, you know, and so it was a kind of an important connection for me because although I knew musicians and stuff and I'd worked up here quite a bit, didn't have a lot of social connections, so it was kind of nice to have connections up here.
I like her too.
I know. And I guess that's when I was introduced to Across the World, which was the first real song that I would have known of yours that you'd written yourself. I think that would be the first real time we kind of talked about songwriting, and I was kind of saying to you a couple of years later, really, you should be putting them down on something, you know.
Yeah.
You know, just because you wrote them with such love and interest, and it just seemed a shame that they wouldn't be somewhere that, you know, would be remembered in a proper way.
There's a good lot of the songs, and they're written about things that happened, but they don't actually tell the story of the thing that happened. It tells the story of how maybe I felt about what happened, rather than just, you know, I joined the police and somebody tried to blow me up.
Okay.
Remember
Then is my favourite song. It's just one of those moments you just go, that's actually very true.
Yes, and
that's a very true song to me.
I know, but the funny thing about it is that that's the first song really that I wrote. I wrote that when I was 20, so I didn't have so much to remember at the time. But
no, but isn't it lovely that you can revisit it now that you're not 20 anymore,
but
and you're getting this an extra depth to it? You know.
Yes, it seems to hold. It feels as if it holds true. Today, just as much as it did.
And it's quite true for a lot of your songs, actually. There's a very strong honesty that goes through and can be applied not just to romantic, but also just life in general. And I think that's a very lovely thing in writing.
The title song, What's Not to Love, is my relationship with my daughter Rachel, which was good and sometimes not so good, you know, but and then you go to the very end of the album is another song about Rachel, which is Gone Again, where she'd been going to different parts of the world and working and living there, and my feelings about that. Yes, the other inspiration for several of the songs is Ursula. From Ursula and I got married 40 years ago, and you know, working my way through my career in the police, and then even over the past 10 years or so since I left the police.
You have such a great relationship over the years, and you must have gone through a lot considering the change that was going on in the country, as well as,
well, you see,
you were so pivotally involved.
That is very true, because I mean, I talked about you know, nasty incidents that happened, but you know, I was affected at times to the point where I had to go to hospital, not just for injury, but because it was like
quite traumatized.
I was kind of traumatized, and it was. Some of the songs are really about Ursula bringing me through that period and how we supported each other and this sort of thing. So
it's great to be able to write songs and to have them, but to actually have them on an album that tells you, you know, this is it, you know. And
yes, I'm happy with having the album. If that was as much as I have, I got that.
You know, it's like, you know, telling your story, and we'll always be there for other people to listen to.
Remember them.
All the really nice treats he laid on for us.
Oh yeah, he did lay on really nice treats for us. I'm Dave, and I played the cello on the recording.
I'm Ruth, and I played violin on the recording.
Do we have to pretend not to be weird?
Yes. Oh Yeah, that one was good.
Actually, that's the first one I wrote string parts for. No, that's not true. It's the second one. I think it was the second one, but it was one of the very early ones, and it came really quickly.
Well, the album's called What's Not to Love.
What did we not love?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing you can say about John?
All the really nice treats he laid on for us.
Oh yeah, he did lay on really nice
Yeah.
treats for us. We did used to talk about how much we liked him.
Yeah.
I don't know, he's always smiling, and he's got this like a kind of innocent quality to him, and he was so happy when we were doing it.
Oh, it was great, especially like there were times when we were recording in the studio and he was just loving it.
Don't Let Me Down. That one. That was another one that wrote itself very quickly. Well, I mean, once you've decided you're doing an Asian glissy solo, like, you just have to write the Asian glissy solo. It's just a matter of picking the notes out.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Asian glissy solo?
A gliss is a slide in classical music. It's really sliding around.
Sliding around just casually.
But it's
around.
got this kind of like pentatonic harmony thing to it, and it sounds like an Asian instrument of some kind. I don't know what it would be.
I don't know either.
He just pours his heart out in these songs, you know?
I think it's like he knows there's no reason why he shouldn't do that. A lot of people haven't realised that. I think I met John, this must have been like late 2014, and we played a few rehearsals together, and when it became apparent that John was going to like really take it somewhere, then I suggested that Brian would be a good guy to get in touch with, because he knows a lot about making albums, and I didn't know at the time if he would become like really heavily involved in it or not, or if he would just be the guy who said, well, this is what you should do. But he ended up becoming very much the guy as well.
There's that one with that hook, that riff.
Oh my goodness.
That was hilarious. I loved playing that. I thought that was so fun. That was like the party time tune, and everyone just knew it was, it was happening. It was banging. We enjoyed
banging.
playing
Huge tune.
that. Huge tune. It was a huge tune, and we all knew it. Yeah, it was great. If John was at a festival, like that would be the tune to get everyone going. If everyone would be like, it'd be great. Yeah. That's the number one tune.
That's great.
Yeah, you never
tune.
really get to play anything like that. You know, like when you're on strings, that's usually like the brass get all the fun stuff, and you're just like. So it was quite good. Yeah.
That's why we play music.
Yeah.
Just for that tune.
It's all worthwhile. Yeah.
You're the only one. You I'm over.
And John's a good example of that. You know, he has such natural talent.
The sun is setting on a winter.
Rod Patterson.
Yeah.
I'm a bass player. I've been playing professionally for 25 years.
Well, I know that I'm Brian Connor and I play piano. I do some orchestrating and arranging and production work and that kind of thing. It's a big box of toys.
Yeah.
And they get mixed up in different permutations, and every permutation is kind of fun.
I think the first large project we did was Siobhan's first album called Verse and Chorus, and that was probably about 15 or 16 years ago.
You do get to have a comfortable trust, I think, when it comes to music making, because you recognise the little idiosyncratic pushes and pulls that can happen when another person's playing. Oh, I have the most lovely thing going on at the moment. I'm working on a program to restore old scores. So because of the year that we're in, and we're thinking about 1916, and we're thinking about Ireland in the early years and so on, there's more interest than ever in preserving things from the early years of the state. I think this year I'll probably work on 4 scores which need a bit of, they need preservation and they need a bit of figuring out because bits of them have already decayed and pencil marks have faded completely. It's very, very touching to be dealing with the actual original marks on a score of somebody who now has grandkids or great-grandkids here, and you're thinking, I'm going to bring this back and make it permanent. There's a sort of immortality that you're a part of there when you're touching that. It's very touching, very nice to be part of that. I know when I'm looking at the score that the composer was sitting giving the best that they could give. It's the best of the person, and even though they have gone, the best part of them remains. It's thrilling.
When I heard the original demos, my initial reaction was, well, this is Northern Ireland's answer to Neil Young. This guy's great.
Dave McCann brought in some string arrangements, and it's very nice to have someone come in and do something and you think, what the fuck is that? That's not the song the rest of us are playing. This is something new. And as creative people, we should be doing that all the time, of course. But it's very exciting then to have somebody come in and say, I'm not sure what the rules are, but I think it goes like this. And they don't quite get the rules right, but they do create something tremendously powerful and personal and expressive with their own vision. And John's a good example of that. You know, he has such natural talent, but it hasn't been sculpted into something too technically restricted. It just happens quite freely, and it's a nice aspect of it, and it's kind of part of John's nature as well. That he just is, there's a simplicity about his whole nature and way of being and thinking and talking that is very, very sophisticated and clever. It's like the opposite of simple, but actually it's the way to go.
On all the songs, there's a really great energy there for such a laid-back guy, because when he wasn't actually doing it, he was Mr. Chilled, you know. But as soon as he picked up the guitar or got in front of the mic, it was like, okay, this is the way it goes.
It's nice to work with someone who enjoys it. So
absolutely, it's fantastic.
You know, for a lot of us in music, we can forget to enjoy it, and particularly for somebody whose album it is, and they've got a million aspects to worry about, and then they've got their own vanity attached to that. But John never forgets to enjoy it. He just thinks, this is great, This is what I want to be doing.
He's an interesting guy, though.
And that's the everything's connected to everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's all good.
He's on an interesting road. So
and he's got his own take, and this is what his song is, and it's a good song.
His showbiz quality, when he got on stage, he really turned it on. I'm not formally trained. I've never had a lesson in my life, so everything I've done has been with these. What I love is, it's very simple, being in a room with other good players, and hopefully with other players who are better than I am. Well, I've been almost entirely on the road with a guy called Boris Grebenshchikov in Russia. He's kind of the Russian Bob Dylan. Before that, I was with a band called Moving Hearts, who are kind of Celtic fusion legends, with the likes of Davy Spillane, who's the great pipe player who's played for those people who don't know anything about folk music. Will definitely have heard him on Titanic. He's the pipe player in Titanic and all that Riverdance stuff. I'm about to do a tour later in the year with Ronan Keating. The project I was working on today was, well, essentially it was just a rehearsal with Van Morrison. The idea being that I might do some summer shows. I've only ever been interested in being part of a really good ensemble. Brian Connor, the string players, Rod Patterson, trying to provide as colourful and as musical and as supportive of backing for the artist. In this case, John Lindsay, the artist. So you're trying to make him happy, make his day, make it musical, make a dream of sorts come true. And that's a rare privilege. I mean, it really is. I mean, to be able to do that for a living, I think it's quite special. The route with which, we all take to find ourselves in the room. So your dad, who joins the RUC when he's 18 and comes all the way through the Troubles and is stationed in Derry and becomes, a high-ranking officer and survives all of that. My God. And then me, I'm kind of, I'm from Derry as well. I'm kind of brought up on the bog side, and technically I'm on the other side of all of that. It all ends, Brian Connor and Rod come from their area, and we all end up in a room one day making music. That is the joy of what we all do. It never ceases to enchant me, I have to say. I mean, the studio, it can be intimidating. John was fantastic in the studio. He took to it like a duck to water. It's like he'd always been there. The live gig it's the first time I've prepped for a recording with a live gig in front of an audience. Touch of genius. A good record is capturing a performance, and I think that's what Brian set out to do. What really surprised me was John's showbiz quality. When he got on stage, he really turned it on. I thought, my God, this guy used to be a cop. Really? He's just kind of a natural performer. He was so at ease on that stage, so comfortable with an audience, and that's a gift.
On each other.
They were saying, let's see if we can make her do this. Was there that element? You can tell me now. Well, you're good at the tea.
I'm good at making a cup of tea.
So I actually told my children recently, I did the Grammys, that was the first time I've ever seen them look impressed, ever, about anything, but they seemed, impressed is probably a stretch actually, they looked a little bit confused. I think they thought it was there changing the toilet roll.
But the highlight, come on, the highlight.
It's all a precursor. It's just a precursor on the road to the moment of glory. I wake at nights thinking how lucky I am, John.
Yes. There's a song on there, Inspired by Yourself.
Wow, which one? Straight back to the words for that one. Which one? It has to be something amazing.
Exquisite.
Oh, of course.
Exquisite gift.
Okay.
It just sounds like, it does sound like a sort of a love song, but it was written about the experiences that you had, which I know you had, on Eurovision, okay. and how you revisit that experience, through maybe going to different, by doing it a second time, by all the different shows that you've done in the interim. You've been asked to go abroad, and
it's very true. Eurovision is the gift that keeps on giving, because if you've won it, it comes around every year. There's always something that's relevant until I'm too old to wheel out. They're definitely going to wheel me out. To be fair, there's only been 60 winners in 60 years, so there's not that much. There's quite a few of us in Ireland, to be fair. There's a bit of a glut. But fortunately, quite a few of them are getting on, so I'm still young enough. But
and you did backing vocals on the song for me.
I loved it. Well, it was just really fun for me, because I feel I've been on the journey with a lot of these songs myself. And I really love quite a lot of the songs. Oh, look at there's something in his eyes.
She was on the journey.
I've been on quite a few of them, John.
Aye.
And
you
actually,
did listen to them quite a few times.
Yes.
As you were
when you came,
as you're teaching me how to sing the blinking things.
I didn't teach you how to sing them. I just kind of optimised the loveliness that you had.
Optimised the loveliness.
Because you can never lose who you are when you sing. That's incredibly important. You don't do that. I mean, you don't want to be sounding like Adele, sure you don't, or Ed Sheeran or anything.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So,
don't be as good as that.
No. What I liked about going in and working on your songs was I got little moments, vignettes of myself with you, and it just it brings out a different thing, because normally I'm the dominant vocalist, so it's quite nice to go in and just compliment what you're doing, as opposed to going in and owning everything in the space, you know. So it was quite a challenge for me, to be fair, you know. And some of it was quite interesting. I noticed I didn't make the final cut, which is very just as well.
Well, it was a bit experiment. We did.
Yeah.
I think to say
They'd
we
been in
did
the-
a bit of experimentation.
I think they'd
it.
been in that studio for quite a few days at this point, you know. So obviously, when I came in, they were in a playful mood or something, or maybe they just needed to go for a long walk. I'm not sure.
Or have a good
There was a whole
laugh.
smile thing going on, and I
yes.
think they were in the other room laughing their legs off.
Yes.
They were saying, "Let's see if we can make her do this." Was there that element? You can tell me now.
Well, you know.
Music and people and creativity are what I love. So my name is Cormac O'Kane. I'm the owner of Redbox Studios here in Belfast, and we provided the facilities and hosted John and Brian and various other musicians as they came in to put down all the tracks for John's great new album. Music and people and creativity are what I love. People from all walks of life come in here, and it's great. You get to work on them as they're trying to create something new in the world, so that's really exciting. John lacked kind of experience in the studio, but I don't think he really realised how good a musician he was. You know, as he has a sound, he has a sound, he knows what he wants, and he makes music, and he's certainly met a great guy in Brian anyway, who Brian's a very kind of inclusive and kind of he really fostered John's enthusiasm. You know, he responded to it and encourages. So it's all about what you want to say and how you're going to express yourself. And this was one of those nice occasions where a bunch of people got together and actually, do you know what? All the tracks were put down, I'm pretty sure, more or less as a band. There might have been overdubs and things like that, but it was all played mostly together. They were all relaxed. They got more relaxed. Actually, John got really relaxed on the second day after he realised that, you know, that it was just going to happen, you know, if they all just, you know, communicated and had a good time.
Yeah.
And so even the second day, you know, it was like he'd been in the studio for 10 years. I love working with people who are just emotionally connected to music, you know.
Would you say John's music would fall into that then?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's, though it's purely, you know, it's purely all about how the music makes him feel. You know, I think actually, you know, that's the big thing. And what I really loved about it was the fact that he's doing it, he's not going, right, and okay, we've identified this demographic and we're going to approach these people and it's going to cost this and then we have to get that out. There was absolutely none of that. It was completely personal, done for personal reasons, and that is, well, that's really great as long as you've got the talent to do it. John fortunately has. I absolutely love being involved in music in Northern Ireland and in Ireland in general now, because the record companies don't have the power anymore. It's kind of come back to what it should be about making music as part of a community, you know, and that's, I think, what's a good thing about the fact that the music industry is in disarray and nobody knows now how they're going to sell stuff. So, like, you know, studios used to cost a fortune. The studio doesn't cost a lot anymore, and now people can afford, they make their music themselves. They don't wait for somebody to sign a check and go, there, you're allowed to record. People now do it themselves, and that is probably back to more, you know, it's what it should be. And in this place, like, we provided the facilities here. Also, I think we provided the ambience and the atmosphere, and that's what we're about.
Definitely.
We're supposed to be a business. I don't really think of it as a business, but, you know, it's that we're here to just, you know, enjoy ourselves and get away with it.
As soon as you pull a banjo out in an orchestra, everybody chuckles. Inevitably chuckles.
banjo and lead
Banjo.
guitar.
Yeah, and a bit of banjo and electric and a little bit of acoustic. I moved over to Ireland 8 years ago, and then I pretty much only played like electric and acoustic guitar. And I got over here and I got a few gigs doing kind of trad stuff. And in the trad stuff, there's a bit of like mandolin and banjo.
Who is it that you go up and play with in Belfast? Or
It's a band called the Russian Dolls, and I do a good bit with the orchestra too, the Ulster Orchestra, which is great.
Okay.
So yeah, I really like it.
Had you met Dave through the Ulster Orchestra at all?
I met Dave through Brian, and then met him through the orchestra.
And so what do you play in the orchestra then?
Banjo, surprisingly, yeah. They have like a lot of the old Broadway stuff is kind of written, because in the 30s the banjo was kind of as important to jazz as the saxophone, So even though as soon as you pull a banjo out in an orchestra, everybody chuckles, inevitably chuckles.
So what was it like working with John then? What was
It was great. He's a very sweet guy, And I was only there for sort of kind of a matter of hours, really, He hasn't done a lot of music before. He was really that kind of youthful enthusiasm that sort of came out, And the tunes were lovely, and anything that Brian is involved in, I'm up for, Like if Brian thinks it's good, so.
Exquisite Gift, I don't know if you remember that one.
Was that the one with the kind of, I think I remember Brian telling me to, it was one of the most bizarre requests I've ever had in the studio. Was that the one with the solo, kind of an electric solo in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Brian said, if you find yourself playing something nice, stop. So I ended up doing all these weird bends and stuff. It was very difficult. He was trying to get me to channel Mark Rebo, who's this kind of New York kind of, I don't know, is he avant-garde? I don't really know. He's quite a bizarre electric guitar player. It was like on a sort of, on a command, sort of forget about all that music stuff that you've done before and just like do something totally different. So I found that very difficult to do, actually. And that was that was a bit of a moment of sort of like head in hand sort of thing. So I enjoyed that track, actually. I enjoyed that.
I just thought the banjo really lifted the song,
Yeah.
Like
it's a nice instrument that kind of almost bubbles away in the background, if it's kind of doing just like a little constant thing, it can really, it kind of comes from that. I always think about it as coming from the kind of country bluegrass thing, so it kind of, whatever tune you put it into, it gives a little bit of a flavour of that, It's a lovely thing. It was, I hope he feels it was a worthwhile endeavour for him and his music and all that kind of stuff. And hope he's happy with the results. Sorry about all the mistakes.
It'd be a great story with John's background and everything else. It'd be great. Like, it does make a great story. You know what I mean?
We're in Calder Studios in Dublin. That's where we mixed the album. This is where I work most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm a sound engineer, so I record the album.
I played whistles on the CD, which was a nice change because generally whenever I'm asked to play anything, it's on uilleann pipes. Brian Connor asked me to be involved. Done a good few things with Brian, not in that sort of situation. Generally, we're performing somewhere on stage and it's generally live. He's on the piano and I'm on pipes or whistles or whatever it is. So it was the first time that he was kind of like a boss telling me what to do, which is really cool because he's a great man to get the results out of people.
You sang on the album as well, didn't you?
I'm on. My voice is on the Fleeting Connection. Was that with you then?
Yeah. No, we fixed it up here then. Yeah, no, it was just so you could have a listen to it, and then we started to put it on, and just the way it turned out great. So
I think Dad said like everybody kind of half had their coats on, and then it was all, oh wait a minute.
Well, we were halfway out the door, and he goes, "Do you mind if I do one more thing?"
Yeah.
I started about 16 years ago, and it's really picked up in the last couple of years, and I mean really picked up. Like yesterday, I was down in Niche. There was a kind of a workshop on for musicians down there, and about 5 years ago, this is just one example of one county. It was 5 years ago, there was one pipe in Niche or two, and now there's about 25. And when I started pipes in Wexford, there was probably about maybe 4 or 5 in the whole county. Now there's probably about maybe 15. It's really picked up in the last couple of years. There is more demand for pipes and stuff in the last couple of years. It makes my job a bit tougher. I have to practice more. Like most people in school, I just got 2 whistle lessons, and through the whistle then I kind of got a bit more into Irish music. And then by chance one day a school teacher brought in a set of uilleann pipes and he was practicing, and I thought, geez, this is fantastic, And I'd heard the sound before, I just never made the connection as what it actually looked like. And then I went home and I tried to explain to my father what this weird contraption was that I seen, and I ended up to describe it to him, I put a water bottle under my arm, my leg of a stool, and another water bottle under this arm. And one thing led to the next. I ended up getting the beginner set, and here I am. And the low whistle as well is on one of the tracks. That's basically just a huge big whistle which is down an octave, which is it's the sound of a flute, but it's a lot easier to play than a flute. I was glad about that as well, that I wasn't asked to play the flute and the low whistle instead, because I could have had a few more takes if we were doing the flute, you know. You're gasping for breath.
I already had quite a few, so.
No, I love, like, what I love about just playing music is the likes of meeting John and a day up in Belfast. It's always something so different. There's always something different to look forward to. And you get to meet nice people every now and then.
Oh yeah. Thanks very much. Well, it's the same as Mark. Like, you know, it's great to meet. You get to meet new people every day. You're sort of working on different styles of music. It's always interesting. I went up to Red Box to record for.
It was just easier to do the recording up there.
Yeah, well, it suited everyone. Everyone was in Belfast, so it sort of suited the whole band. Were from up north, so it suited everyone else to be up there rather than bring them all down here to Sydney.
Absolutely, and then you can just easily mix.
Yeah, I can mix by myself. I don't need someone here a lot of time for that. It's generally Brian and John came in the last day and went through all the mixes then to fix everything up. For someone who hasn't experienced being in the studio before, he's very good. You know, within, obviously the first day I'd say it was a bit nerve-wracking for him, but I found the more he did it, the easier it got for him and the more naturally it got for him as well.
Yeah, he was very relaxed, couldn't believe it.
I suppose he had a lot of faith in Brian as well, Brian full of it. So.
And then have you guys worked together then since that?
Yeah, we worked on a show called The Bloody Irish. Sort of I was more in the sound end of things and Mark was playing pipes on it. So it was, it's a show about 1916, so it was full on, you know, fully acted out musical with a full band all around the stage.
It'd be a great story with John's backhand and everything else. It'd be great, like, it does make a great story, you know what I mean? It's like a lot of people have their jobs throughout their lives and then they always have this ambition to go and do something and they never actually do it, and I think it's great that he just went and done it.
Daddy, is that song about me? What is it?
The song "What's Not to Love" is the kind of well, it's the iconic song with the iconic riff on it, and the song's about you, and you had something to do with the riff as well.
I think I might have written the riff, yeah.
You might have.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago, Daddy, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first one is very funny. I remember you actually sitting playing the What's Not to Love in here, you know, whenever you'd just first written it, and hearing the words, and I just popped my head in and said, Daddy, is that song about me? What is it? You're unresolved, you're really quite alarming.
Aye, stuff like that.
That's
that's the type of thing. So then you've popped up on the album as well on the second song on the album, doing the backing vocals to Fleeting Connection. We actually just recorded you at home here.
Yeah.
I brought it in and we were just completely finished really doing the whole album. Brian Connor had his coat on ready to walk out the door whenever I put your vocals on and asked him to do it for me just for our interest.
Yeah.
And he liked it. He liked the backing vocals, so down he sat again. And for me it's so lovely that you're actually singing on the album. I'm so pleased about that.
One of the big things for me is the little insert that you've got in the album.
Oh yes, my insert.
And instead you said, I am not going to put the words of the songs in there because it's just boring.
Well, you can hear the words.
You can hear
You can hear the words.
Yeah, but the stories, so then instead of that you've put like little stories into
yes, it's only
the booklet. And
a few phrases about each of them.
But Daddy, it's like whenever I read those, I think I had a wee tear coming down my face because but they are, it's so heartfelt. You know, everything that you've done is so heartfelt and it really comes across. It's just an amazing journey to see you know, right from whenever you wrote the songs, I, you know, hear you sitting playing them and trying them out and testing them, and then, you know, working together those years, sort of 2003, whatever, years ago, you know, us sort of trying to fumble together some stuff, and, you know, some of it obviously worked really well because it's been brought forwards, and was so pleased when you decided to do this and really go for it, and then to see the amazing musicians and how that's all come together. It
is hard to understand or believe.
It's hard to know how that happened.
How did that happen? Can anybody try and explain to me where I got all these brilliant people to work with me on this?
Yeah.
And make the album really everything that I'd hoped for.
Isn't it so magical?
It is.